This meeting is being
Well,
recorded.
good evening. Good evening, people. My name is Mel, and I'm down here in Costa Rica. And it is 17 minutes after 7 p.m. And we got Chief Marshal Mecham, we got Mr. Ammon, and we got Kerry. But before we get started, folks, right down below, we got the Quantum Financial Systems Manual, which now resides at QFS 1776.com. We got some incredible business opportunities. You need to stay in positive cash flow as we go through the storm. The storm will be over soon, I believe. How soon? I don't know. I can't put a date on it. Don't forget to subscribe, unsubscribe, like, unlike. It throws the algorithms off. Don't forget to join our Telegram group down below. And also, don't forget to share us on your social media because we are being shadow banned. Also, the backup channels, in case this one blows up, will be down there as well. You can join the backup channels. This way you can, in case we do blow up, you know exactly how to find us. Chief Marshal Mecham works directly with David Straight. He's one of David Straight's right-hand man. We got a gentleman with him by the name of Ammon, and then we have another gentleman by the name of Kerry. I don't know what their credentials are. Chief, I'm going to give you the floor. Tell us what these people do and what capacity they work with you at. Please, I will give you the floor. Thank you.
Hey, Kerry Lund, he's the chief marshal for Davis County, a different county than we are. And then Ammon here, he's the marshal for Morgan County. We have quite a few different counties that are filled with a chief marshal. And then what we try to do is we try to have a couple assistants on each one so that we cover the whole state. We haven't got that all done yet, but we're working on that.
Cool, cool. And one of the things that Susanna wanted me to go over with you is your purpose and role working with David Straight. Can you go over that a little bit?
Well, our purpose is to back up a lot of the stuff that he says and do a lot of the stuff he says, but it isn't a total thing that we follow just David. There's lots of people out there that's doing a lot of programs, and we try to take the best of every program because some of it works and some of it doesn't work. And so we spent the last 7 years trying to decide what works, and truth of it is very little works, but what does work, then we try to stick to it. And so there's lots of things happening, but it's taken a long time to make this stuff work. And but we're going to keep at it until it finally works, you know. I mean, but as long as they have their sandbox and we have our sandbox, it's hard to play in their sandbox, and it's hard for them to play in ours. So bringing them together is a pretty tough job.
Gotcha. And you guys also play a role, I believe, called peacekeepers, correct?
Peacekeepers, yeah, we call ourselves peacekeepers because we're not law enforcement. What we do is we try to keep the peace. Period. Okay. That's what our job is, keep the peace. We're not out trying to give tickets to people and cause them things. We just explain I mean, my sheriff that I deal with, he gets people all the time that thinks they're American state nationals or whatever they might be. And then he'll call me and we just work it out. We've had very little problems with anybody that way. We've even had one person that got arrested and got in pretty serious trouble, but they actually, because of the situation, actually made it pretty light. He went to jail for 30 days and no fine. That was actually a pretty good deal because he had a DUI and he hit the cop. So in most cases, they would have done a lot worse.
Absolutely. And so there's some kind of a program that's across the nation, U.S., that's supposedly designed to save the sheriffs across the U.S.A. Can you explain a little bit about that and how that works out?
Kerry, do you know a little bit about
that? What was the question?
Saving the sheriffs across the U.S.
I'm not sure. That might be a thing that just regarding Sheriff Mack and those guys. They're constitutional sheriffs. I'm not familiar with that movement or whatever it is.
Okay, gotcha. And can we get some clarity on the White House Office, Inc.?
The only clarity that I know about it is that they've changed the name and the new name is the White House, just what you just said. And as far as I know, is the White House is empty, and so it's not. But go back to the sheriff thing a little bit. Sheriff Mack, I've been with Sheriff Mack several times. So some of these other guys, but there's quite a movement going on. There's actually, believe it or not, constitutional sheriffs that are actually on our side. That's on the side of the government. It's not very many, but there's a movement amongst the government right now to try to federalize all sheriffs so that they work for the federal government rather than their own counties and states. And we don't want that to happen. So we're working very hard to make sure that does not happen, because these sheriffs got a lot of power. And if they take this federal stuff the way they are, they're going to lose it all.
Got you. Now I understand. I want to shift gears with you guys a little bit. I understand you guys are to some extent involved with the dinars and the bolivars and all that reevaluation of currency that's headed our way. What could you tell us? What do you know, if anything?
Well, do you know anything about it?
As far as I know, the corporation is broken, and they're just furthering it, trying to get money off the people through citations.
Mhm.
But I mean,
No, I'm talking about these people. There are people out there investing in the Iraqi dinar and the Zimbabwe dollars, etc. Are you familiar with that at all? It's called the DCR.
I've invested in both of them, the dinars, and but the other one I went with was the Vietnam dong.
Mm-hmm.
And I know quite a bit about it. But I've been hearing about it for 15 years, and I know lots of people that are invested in it. There's a lot of people invested in it, and whether it ever happens, who cares? I mean, but if it does happen, we're going to be rich. You know, I mean, people that are doing that. I mean, when Trump was in, if people studied what he was trying to do, he was trying to equal out all this money when he was there. He got it done a little bit in Mexico. You noticed in Mexico that if you work down in Mexico, you can get a job for $15 an hour, just like you can here. But before that, you couldn't. And so that's what they're trying to equalize it all out. And if they equal it out, what's wrong with the Vietnam dong? Why are they so devalued? Why shouldn't they be just like the American dollar? And I think what's happening is we're getting a reverse. I think the American dollar is getting worse and worse, and theirs is starting to come up a little. I know that in what I've watched that they're both coming up a little bit, but I mean, they're still not there. But I think when it does happen, I think it's going to happen overnight.
I think you're right. I think it is going to happen rather quickly when they have to go. When they have to go because it's their convenience, not ours, it's going to go very fast. You and I are just a couple of guys going along for the ride, and that's all we're ever going to be. Right. But is there any, news as to, I keep hearing stuff that, it's happening. It's going to happen this week. It's going to happen next week. Is there anything you have, you guys on your side, in regards to when, where, and how?
I've been hearing that for 3 or 4 years now. It'll be this weekend, or we might hear something Monday, or I'm sure you've heard it over and over and over.
Yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to that because I can't hang my hat on stuff like that because it's not in my control, number one. So I just try to stay in positive cash flow. And when it happens, like you said, if it happens and when it happens, I'm here. Obviously we're definitely invested in this XRP Ripple, and we're waiting for that train to come in. But there's obviously a lot of manipulation because the banksters understand that they're literally out of business, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to, take a piece of this turkey before it comes out of the oven. But I don't think they're going to be able to be guys because it's just. The whole system is about to make the entire banking system as we know it null and void and obsolete. It's just the way things are headed. I don't think you have to be too smart to figure out that's exactly what is happening. You guys have any different thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's just like our food. We've been doing quite a program with food. We've been trying to get food for people for free, and we deliver food, and we've been trying to stock each other up as much as possible, because here's how I look at it, and it's the same way with that. You're better if you've got it, and something happens than if you don't have it and something happens.
This is
So
true.
that's the way I go. I'm going to make sure that I don't want to come before God and say, I let somebody starve in my
Right.
family or whatever. That's important. And people
Totally.
need to wake up to that. I mean, it's coming. I mean, it's
Yeah.
coming. It's easy to see.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the places I went yesterday, I have never seen so many people there getting food in my life. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like 4 or 5 blocks long for all the time they were there. I mean, and before it used to be maybe 2 or 3 people showed up.
Yeah. Well, people are scared. I mean, rightfully so. I live in a big agricultural country on a scale of a new world order. I don't believe Costa Rica is really a significant piece of the puzzle, if you will. We go to the local farmers market. Yeah, granted, because of political pressure from Washington or whoever is in Washington, if there's anybody there at all, it's debatable. Yes, the prices have gone up dramatically. I mean, this is always the third most expensive Latin country in all of Latin America. The prices have gone up at least, I would say, in most things about 200%. Our gasoline is scratching $8.50 a gallon. Eggs that are produced here, for example, corn that grows here that you could feed the chickens with. Eggs. There's no reason why eggs should go up, but eggs are up at least 150%. So it is what it is. I mean, we were seeing. But we're not seeing empty shelves. That's one thing we're not seeing down here. There is food literally stacked up to the ceiling. You go to the farmer's market, there's over 386 stalls, and they sell everything from poultry to fish to fruits and vegetables, exotic fruits. We got beef, we got everything. We got pork, you name it. Strawberries, we got the best strawberries in the world. They grow right here in the mountains of Poas, which is the volcano. Some of the most delicious strawberries you'll ever taste, So it doesn't seem that there's a food shortage here. And I keep asking my wife, because I don't really go, I have a problem dealing with humanity when I got to look at a bunch of people wearing a face diaper. You know what I mean? It has an effect on me. And it's like, if I get into the point where I want to start smacking people around, it's maybe not a good place for me to be at, and I should stay home. So I send her. And she says, no, the shelves are fine. The shelves are full with food, and she'll send me pictures back, whatever. So it doesn't seem we're going to have that problem here, but it seems that they're picking on the United States because the United States, I believe, is the last piece of the puzzle that needs to fall in order to bring in communism. It's not Costa Rica. It's not Panama. It's not Nicaragua. It's not Mexico. It's the United States.
Well, we have 18,000 people a day coming here right now. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they don't do no checks with this Biden in here. It doesn't matter who comes. I mean, we're facing a lot of stuff. And with the truckers and everything here, we're having some real difficult times here with that. I mean, my wife, she just went to the store the other day and she's saying how many people weren't there. Just not very many people there and then she just overheard some of their conversations. One was, man, we just can't keep paying this. We're going to have to start using our food supplies at home and stuff. And it's absolutely true. I mean, it's like, you don't know until you go to the store. She don't take me because I get too upset about it. It's just way out of hand. But I really don't believe that there's a food shortage that much because all this food that they probably throw more food away in America than they eat. And
they're
you know what? But I think
they're actually paying farmers not to actually grow food.
Yes.
They're paying them 3 times the amount of money that they would make if they were to grow and distribute the food. And so there's a big monetary incentive. Now, me personally, if I was a farmer and the government says, hey, we're going to pay you to destroy, your crops, and don't worry about it. We're watching you from space with a satellite system, and we're going to pay you, $600. That's what it is. It's about $600 for every acre of produce that they're destroying, which it makes sense for them monetarily speaking. But if I was a farmer, I'd say, you know what, get the hell off my property. I'm doing my job and I'm feeding America. That's what I would do. But that's me.
I've got some dairies around here, and one of the dairies, they give them $500,000 a year just to do what they're doing. I don't. They said it's to control or to make the price. They says, but milk right here is about $3.50 a gallon. They says, and if they didn't give us that, it'd be $10.50 a gallon.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what to believe on all that stuff.
Well, I think that I've always said that is what it's going to take to literally wake up the normies. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I don't give a crap if you're left, right, center. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's going to understand, $12 gallon of gasoline or a $12 gallon of milk. You understand? That's going to piss off a lot of people. It doesn't matter which end of the political spectrum you sit on.
You're absolutely right. And what's crazy about it is right now you can go get gas and there's lines everywhere. And it's like nobody's slowing down a bit. And until they start slowing down and acting like the price is too high, they're going to keep raising it. I mean, around here, it's unbelievable. They're just going to keep going because everybody just keeps buying it. The freeways are full of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's unreal. But what part of the world are you in?
We're right in the middle of the United States, Utah.
Utah, that's right.
Down from Idaho and up from Arizona and this side of Nevada, but we're kind of all in it together around here. I mean, it's like all the farmers and that are kind of in it together, but they're getting kind of rough. Right, the truck drivers are having a difficult time. They say they're quitting faster than they can keep up to them. They just can't afford to do it because they're saying that not only is it $6 a gallon for diesel, but where they're getting their deliveries, the delivery people are saying, we're not going to pay any more than we've been paying you. So they got a two-way thing there. They're not going to pay them more because they can't get any more out of the consumer.
Right.
And the consumer's about tapped out. So I think that you're lucky probably where you live, but here everything has to be transported one place or the other. And it's pretty rough.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses. I mean, we came down here because they wanted to do this with my wife, jab, and all that kind of stuff. And they wanted a minimum of 7 in the U.S. And this country, there was no schedule for this. And so we decided, because I had experience coming here, so we decided to move here. There's some great things about Costa Rica. There's some bad things like everywhere else. The politics are corrupt. There's no question about it. This country is as corrupt as they come. But, show me a country that isn't these days.
Some just hide it better than others.
Yeah, exactly. So, for the most part, it's good. It's safe. There's crime down here is almost non-existent. Besides, I live inside a gated community with armed guards. And we got FBI guys and retired police officers. We got plenty of guns around here. It'd be very foolish, let's just say, for someone to want to come in here and mess around. You might check in alive, but there's no guarantees you're going to check out, without going out in a body bag. That's for damn sure. But so are you at this point, Chief? Are you at this point a sovereign citizen, or did you achieve full sovereignty?
No, we're not considered sovereign citizen. I tell nobody to, especially if they're getting pulled over or whatever, never say sovereign citizen, because they will attack you right now. I mean, that may be the end result, but it's not a smart thing to do, because they've all been trained around here and most places that if you're a sovereign citizen, they're gonna send 3 or 4 more cars after you. And the reason that be is there's a guy up in Idaho, just up the street, that they pulled over a sovereign citizen there, and they pulled him over, and he got out of the car, and the cops come up. And anyway, what happened is his kid, 16-year-old kid, got out of his car with his AR-15 and killed the cops. He killed them both. And it just so happens that one of the cops he killed was the police chief's son. So he's made a real special effort against sovereign citizens. So I always tell people, if you get pulled over, don't say sovereign citizen, say American state national or whatever you want to say, but don't say that, because they've been trained that that's a dirty word. So
if I may,
try to avoid just saying.
Go ahead, Kerry.
Go ahead, Kerry.
To be sovereign is to be self-governing and in charge, or so on. To be a citizen is to be subservient and controlled.
Right.
So those words don't mix well together. So Just keep
Yeah,
that.
but there's a whole linguistics process of learning that you have to go through, and you can't screw up on the linguistics, because if you do, like you said, if you say the wrong thing, that I'm a sovereign citizen, they're going to send 5 more, squad cars at the scene. You know what I mean?
It's like trigger
So,
words for them.
yeah. So there's, I guess that's what you guys cover in your course, is exactly how to present yourself when you do get pulled over or there's an altercation, correct?
Yes, this is how I explained it to them at the different meetings, and they can take it. You got to kind of take everything at a small grade school level. I said,
Right.
oh, these people here, they play in their pen. They have a pen over here. We have a pen over here. Do not go playing in their pen. If you go playing in their pen, you're going to play by their rules. You want to stay in your pen, and they'll leave you alone as
Mhm.
long as you stay in your rules. And the way I interpret this with the assemblies, I says you got to get your assemblies up and running. You've got to get them organized. You've got to get our common court going. And then once you do all that and we get this stuff going, we will have power. Until that day, we're still just working on it. We're trying to get everybody over to our side of the pen. But for some reason, it's really difficult for these people to understand. Common court is very simple, but they're making it very hard to get it done. Now, I've actually, Kerry and I and different ones, we've been down to the legislatures, and as far as state as Utah, they're fine. They're fine with it. They don't have a problem with common court at all. They says it's up to you guys. If you want to get that going, get it going. But what we're having difficulties with is some of the assemblies. They can't decide who's the boss, I guess, or who's running things. And we've got about 5 assemblies here in Utah, and I'm trying to do my best to pull them all together, because unless we bring them all together, it's not going to work so good.
Gotcha.
That makes
Yeah. I mean, I've always figured out a ways to stay under the radar because I know some of the loopholes, but you guys are a little much more advanced in that sense than what I am. But then again, I don't really have to worry about a lot of the stuff because I'm not in the country that I'm a citizen of. I'm in a foreign country. I do have a temporary resident status here, and I wouldn't even know where to even go to even start the process here, which I don't plan on living here. So I'm hoping that, the storm blows over and the military gets called in to do what they got to do. And GesaraNesara becomes the new law of the land, and voila, then everybody is, home free. I mean, I know that there are definitely movements in the Gesara realm because we see things and we hear things, and we have people inside our Telegram groups showing receipts of, not mortgages necessarily, but I've had people call me and say, hey, 2 of my friends just got their mortgages forgiven. I've had people in the room, quite a few of them actually, where student loans were gone, car loans were gone, etc. So there's definitely a movement. People say, let's hit the switch and let's go. It's not as easy, I believe, as just hitting one switch. I think it's multiple switches, and I think that it's going to happen. But I think and I'm not being pessimistic, but I think that for everything to be in full effect, I think we're looking at 2025, guys. That's what I'm thinking. 2025.
Well, it's people like you, Mel, that if you get the message out to people like you're doing, it's what works. What we do is we stay in small groups, and it's like we can't expand, and you try to teach other people, and 9 out of 10 people don't get it at all. And so what you're doing, we really appreciate what you're doing, because he gets the message out and more people thinking all the time.
Well, we've put together one of the most comprehensive manuals on how to transition over into the quantum financial system. It's a manual. I call it a manual. It's a website called QFS1776.com. You dive in, and I promise you, it is the holy grail of how to transition over. It's got the most basic elementary videos that literally exist all over the internet. The only problem is they're scattered. Nobody went and took the time, like my wife and I, over the years, and have found, say, okay, yeah, this video could fit here, and this video is a little bit more advanced. We'll put that there. So if you watch the videos from top to bottom, they're in an elementary order, and we put them in a chronological order where the average person, it doesn't matter whether you're a 75-year-old grandmother or if you're an 18-year-old kid, you're going to understand what this is. You're going to understand what's coming. You're going to understand how to charter the waters going forward, right? And we teach we have a website in there called QSI, QSI, I can't think of the name now, it just blanked out. Resources, QSIresources.com. We have another website called QFS 2020. .com. QFS2020.com talks specifically about GesaraNesara, and it explains it in layman's terms, and it is the most accurate document that we put together. Now, not us, but actually Leanna, the lady you guys were speaking with, wrote a lot of that website. I forget the gentleman's name that owns that website that we put inside our manual, but that website is as accurate as the original document that was drafted back in 1958 by the farmers, saying, hey, listen, we're getting the short end of the stick. This is the way things should be, and so we got that, so, but the reality is, I've always said, and I hate being right, Chief, and I'll tell you why I hate being right, because in 20 years, 30 years at the very outside, and I'm being pessimistic, okay? Because I have to calculate Murphy's Law into the equation. Why? Because humanity are a bunch of screw-ups by nature, right? Everything they touch turns to shit. So let's calculate Murphy's Law. Technology is moving so fast that in 30 years, at the very outside, money will cease to exist. Even the XRPs and the XLMs and XDCs, all of this digital money will no longer exist. Why? Because technology can give you or make you anything you want. And if that's true, and I know it is, why in the world are you going to need the money? Answer, you're not going to need it. And that's where it's all headed.
I think you're right. Yeah. Star Trek, right?
Well, they sold it to us as science fiction, when in reality, it was always science fact all along. Because, see, the truth is so fantastical. It's so outrageous that the average person who's been dumbed down, going through the matrix, the system, and then they go and watch the movies at the movie theater, they'll say, oh, that will never happen. Oh, yeah, that will never happen. Bullshit.
Oh, yeah. If you just take the last 5 or 6 years and see what's changed in the last 5 or 6 years, you've got to be blind to see that haven't changed. Unbelievable.
Yeah. People are going to wake up, Chief. People are going to wake up in the next 5, 6 years. And I promise you, they are not going to recognize the planet they're waking up to.
Nope, they're not.
It's going to be vastly, vastly different. And I'm one of the kind of guys, I don't know, maybe call me weird, call me whatever. I don't like to get left behind. I'm like a sponge. I'm in the movie theater 20, hours a day. I want more information to the point where I get so tired that when I go to bed and I shut down, I literally go into like a sort of like a comatose type of sleep where I'm really deep sleep.
Well, it's obvious what you are is woke up and
oh,
you're
yeah.
trying to wake other people. And that's dang hard to do.
That's why we're trying to wake up the XRP Army 1.0. Yesterday, we actually breached XRP Army 1.0. We actually made history yesterday, Chief, because they didn't want to talk to me for the longest time, but now they cannot ignore me anymore because I got 30,424 people following me on YouTube. I got 7,000 people following me on Rumble. I got 30,000 people following us on Telegram. I got 150,000 eyeballs between Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all these platforms. We got 150,000 eyeballs looking at us. They can't ignore us anymore. And I said to them, I said, yeah, these guys are preaching, the lawsuit. They're preaching all this crap, right? About the Ripple. It's the biggest lawsuit in the world, right? But out of 15,000 coins, why XRP? Why did you pick on that one? There's 15,000 other choices that you could have went to have a lawsuit. They're all 99.99% of them are all illegal. They're all going to go away, most of them. There'll be maybe 50, 60 coins left standing when the dust settles. When the protocol 19s of the world and the protocol 20s of the world and the regulations, which are probably already in place, the lawsuit was already settled. We know that because we went back in the time, way back machine. So it's all kabuki theater because the GesaraNesara ship is not ready yet. Because XRP is going to be the bus that drives GesaraNesara. So why is all the delay? It's multifactorial, obviously.
Why did Ripple stand out so much? Excuse me.
Yeah, because we're the ones that could be scalable to 3.5 trillion transactions per second. We're the ones that could be used peer to peer. In other words, if you want to sell me that, copier you have there behind you, Kerry, and you're willing to sell me that copier for $100 worth of XRP, and I'm willing to send you $100 worth of XRP, I could send it directly to you. I don't need a bank. You just became your own bank, right? So you got these things. I don't know if I have them over here, unless my wife moved them. Oh, here they are. They're perfect. Here, you could put $100 trillion on two of these things, put them in your pocket, walk through the airports of the world, and nobody knows you got $100 trillion sitting on these wallets.
Wow.
Right there. You understand? And if you send me your receiving keys, I go into my computer, log in, I log into my wallet, and I'm sending you $100 for that copier. End of story. Do I need a bank? This is the problem. They know. See, because I don't think anybody ever explained it better than Jim Willie. Jim Willie said it eloquently. He said it exactly the way it needed to be said. He said the banksters thought that they could go and build their own Ripple, their own XRP. When they realized that the secret sauce was so darn difficult, they went back and tried to get in the good graces of Brad Garlinghouse. And they came out with something called central bank digital currency. And it's really nothing more than a way for Brad Garlinghouse to fluff their balls, because at the end of the day, we still don't need the central bank. Now, will there be, CBDCs that are specific to a country, like the yen and the Japanese whatever, and the Italian whatever, or the euro? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're not going to need central banks anymore, because central bank is out of business.
One need that I can see. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kerry.
Is a trust thing. See, for instance, if you want that copier, and you don't know me well enough, you got to establish that trust between buyer and the seller, or have a clawback feature where you can say, well,
Bingo, you said it perfect. This is a trustless system. Okay, and this is what they don't want. Okay, see what happened with the situation. We can't say certain words, otherwise we'll get banned. With the voting, what happened? Okay, they don't want that system because you can no longer change the outcome of something, because when you got everything on the blockchain, all of the blocks have to agree to each other. If one block is off, it throws back everything. It's a trustless system. You just said it. And when you live in a world of people who've been cheating and robbing us blind for thousands of years in our political system, which is flawed in many ways, and now you put a system that can no longer be cheated, Houston, we got a problem. And it's not our problem, it's their problem.
now, since none of us trust the big banks anyway, why would we trust a central bank digital currency?
Some banks may be able to reinvent themselves, and I believe they're going to become nothing more than custodianship. What do I mean by custodianship? Right now, if you were to wanted to go on the internet and buy $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million worth of XRP, you can't do it. Why? Because they're in the lawsuit. Correct?
I thought that
so you have to come to a guy like me who's connected with a bunch of brokers in Australia, United Kingdom, and so on. And I will hook you up with my broker. My broker will get you as many as you want. And it's completely seamless. It's the most easiest process you'll ever go through. Correct? but most people out there are not able to buy the one. Why are they trying to keep people from buying the one? If we're not the one, then the lawsuit would have been someone else's lawsuit, would have been ours. But because we're a threat to the entire monetary system.
You know, it's a fact. If voting actually worked, they wouldn't do it.
Right, exactly. You know, listen, I don't know if you guys know a guy by the name of George Green. George Green, unfortunately, died about 3.5 years ago. He was big into banking. He was so good at banking, he was actually breaking world banks. They didn't like him too much. He was in the slaughter business. Him and his father were selling beef to the United States government. He was worth close to $500 million, a lot of money. He was building gated communities that are, 2,000 homes, cities, multi gazillionaire guy. I known him for years. I interviewed him twice. And basically, he got called in to become the finance chairman to the next president of the United States. Correct? The problem is he was sitting next to Ted Kennedy, is that he realized that all these people that, are high up in politics, like the little ones, the ones that are on the ground, the kids, okay? And I can't say certain words, you could sort of figure out what I'm trying to tell you. And his daughter walks into the room, who just turned 14 the day before. And Ted Kennedy turns around and says to my friend, George Green, he says, "Who the hell is that?" He goes, "I want to go to bed with that." He goes, "No, you don't. That's my daughter." He goes, "I don't give a shit. I want to go to bed with that." This is how arrogant these people are. He walked into another room and they're freebasing cocaine and all kinds of stuff. There's a big names like Wolfowitz in the banking industry, et cetera. So long story short, they wanted him to be the finance chairman to the next president of the United States, a guy that used to grow peanuts from Georgia. Only one problem. Jimmy Carter didn't know he was running for president. So it's been fixed since the beginning of time. You understand? So people have, like George Carlin, you say, you have the illusion like you have a right to vote. It's all kabuki theater. It's a big bullshit story. It's always been that. Yep. And so unless you put something on blockchain where it's foolproof and no one can ever finagle the bagel, nobody can change the outcome of something. And like you said, it's a trustless system. That's why they don't want it, because if it was easily hackable, or easily you could change the outcome of things, or they could still steal, rape, and pillage, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, gentlemen.
That's true. That's true.
They won't be able to track it.
Right. So, at the end of the day, the Bitcoins of the world, I got into a little bit of a heated debate in my podcast yesterday with Chip and Jeff, live on the chain. But the reality is I'm a firm believer that the Bitcoins of the world and the Ethereums are going to go away. I mean, if you watch the entire Ethereum shit show, the whole thing was as rigged as, what Trump just went through with trying to become president, okay? If not more so. Someone's going to go to jail with that thing, because we got people on camera bragging how they did the crime. This is how stupid these people are. They actually came out on camera. We got, thousands and thousands of hours of video of them bragging how they rigged everything.
Yeah, they come out openly, and the government's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
they come out openly with what they do, and people don't buy it. They don't. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we have the best Congress money could buy. That's a fact. And it's all about to go away, all of it. And the guy that's going to burn it down is Donald J. Trump. He's going to burn it all down. And he ain't stopping anytime soon. Will it take another year or another 6 months or another 8 months? Yes. Absolutely. As long as we are behind him, as long as we're willing to fight and show up at the rallies in record numbers, I love it. I mean, the guy goes to a rally without a guitar, and he's got 80,000 people watching him speak, and he's got another 96,000 people trying to get in.
And yet the other guy wins, right?
And the other guy wins. The guy can't fill 5 fucking circles in his backyard. Really? He had to use his camera people and his makeup people and fill the circles with those people because no one wanted to see this guy even talk, not even in his backyard.
Wow.
2,000 mules. You guys saw that. You guys must have seen that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it, yeah. It's good.
I mean, I say it all the time. You sit down, your superiors. If you're a police officer, if you're in the armed forces of any kind of military, or if you're in the Marshal services or FBI or Department of Justice, you sit your superiors down. You let them watch that movie uninterrupted, confiscate their cell phones for an hour and a half. Say, pay attention. So now let me go do my job and let me go arrest the 2,000 mules. And if they don't let you do that, then you need to arrest your superiors.
May I? Yeah, I was just going to say, that's one of our biggest problems with the FBI, CIA, any police, sheriffs, you name it. They all have good people in there, and they all have bad people in there. And what makes you so upset is that good people know who the bad people are, but they don't do anything about it. And that's our problem. If the good people would do something about all the bad people, we wouldn't have the problems we're having. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works. It's like they want to hold on to the bad ones.
Totally. Absolutely. So, where do we go from here? I mean, what you guys are doing is great. Like I said, for me, I'm in a different type of situation. I'm in a different country. For me, it's just a matter of just weathering the storm and waiting for Nesara, Gesara to get here. And then what you guys are trying to do is going to be automatic for everybody on planet Earth. The beautiful thing is, like I said to David Strait the other day when we did that interview, which is, by the way, over 160,000 hits. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I said to him, I said, these people are going to have to physically go back to their country to get their universal basic income, even under Gesara, whether be it 5,000 a month or 3,000 a month or 6,000 a month, doesn't matter. You got to go back to your country of origin.
Yep.
You can't stay in the United States, guys, and collect your UBI. Personally, if I was Donald J. Trump, I would give you a month to get the hell out. And if you don't get out within a month, I penalize you. You don't get your UBI for an entire year.
I like what happens.
You will see a mass exodus coming out of the United States like shit goes through a goose.
There
be
probably
fast.
already is.
Yeah.
There probably already is.
Yeah, it will be fast and furious.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you really want to get down to brass tacks, Marshall, you want to get down to brass tacks. I think that's why Donald Trump is so cool as a cucumber, because he knows this shit.
Well, that's true. He does.
He's
way ahead of us. He's a game. Yeah.
Somebody says, why did he surround himself with all these swamp creatures? To expose them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
You got to show the people what scumbags we're dealing with. So put them in the spotlight.
Yeah, he did a good job of that.
Listen, he will go down as being the greatest president in the history of America, even if we're electing presidents for the next million years. I still would like to know if Donald Trump and what's his name, JFK Jr. Were really on top of Washington's head over there at the Mount Rushmore.
I don't know. That one I don't know.
Huh?
That's classified.
It's classified, right?
Yeah.
So, but I know that there was Gene Ho, who by sheer accident became the photographer for Donald Trump. And he was on Nicholas Vienneman not too long ago, about 6 days ago. And when he asked him that question, boy, he stood up and he said, I can't answer that question. I won't answer that question. I'm saying to myself, okay, this guy's alive. You know, and McAfee is alive too, by the way.
I keep hearing that. I did not hang myself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so yeah, when could we get David back on?
Well, you know, his summer's pretty busy. He's a pretty busy guy, but I'll do what I can to see if we can do that.
Yeah, if we could maybe get him on in the next couple of weeks. Let's hope that there's some kind of developments, you know, on the political front with Trump coming back, et cetera, because that's what we need. We need Trump back, you know, but we need the law enforcement agents of this country to wear their balls. It's about time, you know.
You know, and it's crazy because there's plenty of people out here willing to help them out if they do go the right way. It's just like all this, the school shooting and everything you see.
Right.
The answer is simple. I mean, you know, they said, well, why don't we put guards in the school? Well, you know,
well, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. There was a school in Tennessee, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and this was a piece on mainstream, right? And the janitors are armed, the guidance counselors are armed, the secretaries are armed, the principal, the vice principal, the teachers are armed. Ain't nobody going dare to shoot anybody up, ironically.
No.
Right?
Most of the teachers are armed. Yeah. But you know what? There's a lot of volunteers that would go in there and do that too for free. And they're missing the boat. I mean, it's like they think they got to just come up with a ton of money to do something.
No,
and they don't.
There's so many concealed carry holders that would volunteer 2-3 hours of their time and put them on a schedule where you got, 24-hour security. You'd have more concealed carry permit holders that will volunteer their time than you'll know what to do with.
Yep.
If I may,
Pardon
in Utah, we train
myself.
them to carry and teach.
Well, now we're going into constitutional carry, from what I understand, and I think that that's already taking place in about 7 different states, started with Ohio, right?
Utah's one of them.
Yeah, so you don't even have to go and get a permit, which is really the right way to do it.
However, there is a distinction there. If you have a permit, you're able to carry in the school area. If you do
Okay.
not have a permit, at least in Utah, if you do not have a permit, you're prohibited from carrying in school areas. So
Right.
it's having that concealed carry permit. It's advisable.
Well, I think things are going to get a little bit worse before they get better, but things will get better eventually. America is not going to fall to communism. Okay? I know that if we're calling out the George Soroses of the world, I'm sure they already been dealt with down by the spa in Castro territory. But the reality is, whoever's in charge, you guys are delusional. If you guys are listening to me, you guys are delusional in the sense that you think America are a bunch of docile people. They're going to roll over and play dead. Hell, we don't want a civil war. But man, if you push and you want to take these away, there's going to be a lot of people coming down from those mountains of Montana who, even if they get 1% of the entire militia, you got a situation on your hands that you cannot deal with.
But today, the House passed that big package of gun control bills too. So it's headed for the Senate.
Yeah. And there's a lot of hillbillies who will love to come down from that mountain and start, doing their thing.
Yeah, well, in the town I live in, the sheriff says the average person has 50 guns in their home, and it's every person in this. He says, if I ever had to go out and gather up guns, he says he has 100 deputies, and he says they'd all be dead in a week.
You know,
we don't, that's the last thing that's protecting us right now. If they take that away from us, we're in.
You're done. Look what happened to the UK. Look at what happened to Australia. They have no choice but to go out in the street and fight.
But
Because
I will tell you something. Australia's got a lot of, I've got a lot of friends in Australia. 80% of them still have their guns. They're just not telling nobody about it.
well,
They're not getting-
Australian men, for some reason, have some testosterone left.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And some of the women too.
And some of the women. I love the Aussies. Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if, for example, if they still had all of their guns, the government wouldn't be acting so foolishly.
No, they wouldn't.
So how do you like my peacetime flags, by the way?
I love them.
You better tell David straight. I finally got them today. They just flew in.
We always fly them vertically, so the stripes are vertical up and down.
Okay, so I should switch them around.
Well, yeah, I usually put the star field on the left upper, and then
Okay.
the stripes vertical.
So if I'm facing the stars, would have to be on the left on both of them, and then stretch them out that way,
Yeah,
or put one on top of each other.
from my point of view, it looked like the stars were on the left, and the stripes, of course, would be vertical.
Gotcha.
But we're just proud that we got them.
Yeah, well, at least we got them. So we were definitely a step in the right direction, guys. Guys, it's been real. See what Dave says. Mecham, I would love to do another podcast with him, even if it's another 2-3 weeks. It doesn't matter. I think the people are starving for more information, especially on GesaraNesara and the reevaluation.
Hang on to your Zims.
Yep.
And the Zims and the UBI, of course. Absolutely. So let's do it again. It was a pleasure meeting you, Ammon and Kerry.
And nice to meet you as well.
Thank you.
Let's do it again. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
You too.
Bye-bye.